Council here in Morocco. Thank you.
Good morning. I hope that you had a great trip coming here. I'm not hearing any answer, so it means that it was great. I'm just trying to make sure that my computer works. Interesting. It was working. There we go. Minister, distinguished participants in your respective ranks and titles, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and a pleasure to take part in this international conference convened with focus on sustainable mobility and development. I was asked by the organizers, in fact by her, to discuss specifically energy transition, electric mobility, hydrogen, along with carbon tax schemes. As a strategic and priority project, the energy transition will contribute significantly to Morocco's economic, social, and environmental development by accelerating the development of renewable energies and energy efficiency. In this regard, Morocco's new development model, as well as the Council I chair, called for making green energy a lever of attractiveness while strengthening the country's energy security. Ladies and gentlemen, Morocco imports 90% of its energy needs. This forces the country into a position of dependency and consequently leaves it especially vulnerable to external energy shocks. And we all know we can have just one situation in our minds today. To deal with this situation and step up its energy sovereignty while pursuing its ambitious environmental action on the climate change challenge, Morocco launched in 2009 a promising renewable energy strategy. This enabled our country to build, by the end of 2021, a diversified energy mix where renewable energy share stood at 37.8% of the total. Minister said 40%. I'm just being a little bit more precise than he was. In 2021, Morocco committed achieving an 80% share of renewable energies in its energy mix as part of its low-carbon strategy for 2050. He talked about 50%, but that was by 2030. So by 2050, we want to be at 80% of renewable energy share in our energy mix, which is quite challenging. I talk about that. We also committed to accelerate the electrification of all users, invest in the development of new low-carbon transportation infrastructure, and develop green hydrogen for the decarbonization of the industry, of the economy. Ladies and gentlemen, I am confident that with the necessary efforts, Morocco can meet the 80% challenge by 2050. Why? Because Morocco has an enormous potential of renewable energy, mainly solar and wind. Indeed, just to give you some idea, the solar potential of Morocco is extremely high, with annual solar irradiance values exceeding 2,300 kilowatt-hour per square meter. That's very high when you take irradiance, solar irradiance. If you go and you look at the wind, we can reach load factors up to 6,000 hours a year. That's in Dakhla, that's the southern part of Morocco, but we can be also around 4,000, 5,000 hours a year, which is very high load factor. So given these predispositions in the wind and solar energy, Morocco boasts an immense renewable energy potential, equaling, believe it or not, in tons of oil equivalent, that of Venezuela or Nigeria. So we have the same potential, the energy potential as Venezuela or Nigeria, but it's a green energy. The potential is being fulfilled today through over 111 energy projects at different stages of development. I don't have time to go into this, just to cite the landmark of this project, which is the Noor solar project, where basically we have more than 800 830 megawatt installed, which makes it one of the largest solar plant in the world. However, to reach the 80%, this is going to be very challenging to deal with intermittency, l'intermittence, and of course, investing in smart grids, in storage solutions. Hopefully, we'll see some great technology advancement in storage, and also small-scale renewable energy development and decentralization, as well as, which is very interesting point, how we manage demand, of electricity. And this, of course, desalination stations, the minister has touched a little bit on it, development of green hydrogen, electric transport activity. These, when you have all these different users, then you manage the demand better, and you can also act on the supply. Ladies and gentlemen, Morocco, of course, goes just beyond producing green energy. It gives a strategic dimension to the various deployment of this type of energy, the supply side. And here we're going to talk about the side, the supply with the demand side. Desalination of seawater, electric mobility, green hydrogen, and decarbonization of industry are all large-scale projects that fall into this dimension. Seawater desalination is vital field of action, and the minister can talk about this, in length, given the water stress that we know that we have to face in this country. The importance given to it as a top national priority is evidenced in the wide range of seawater desalination plants that the public authorities have built or are building, to be correct, are building in many cities across the kingdom. The shift towards, of course, if you want to have desalination work, and you need to make sure that the cost of production is low, and that can be done only through renewable energies. So this is where the two come together. Concerning electric mobility, our country has made undeniably significant progress in the development of modern infrastructure, as well as in terms of modes of transport, including sustainable ones, as evidenced in a number of its projects, including the LGV, the high-speed rail lines, the tramways, and electrical high-speed busways. However, Morocco should continue to build on its record of achievement in the automotive industry and further consolidate its position on the global value chain of electrical vehicles. I don't know if you know that, but in 2016, first quarter of 2016, exports of cars in Morocco exceeded exports of phosphates. So the minister and I, we were quite happy, because it means that we are transforming the industry or the economy from raw material based to really industrial based and manufactured product based. Needless to recall here that the EU is committed to its target of accelerated transition to electric mobility, with the sale of thermal vehicles supposed to be banned in Europe as of 2035. This is just a major paradigm shift. My fear is that they're going to still sell these thermal vehicles in other parts of the world, maybe here, or since I know that we have 5 continents, maybe in the other 4 continents that are represented here. But anyway, we'll see. However, developing the ecosystem of electric vehicles requires some necessary conditions, most notably, of course, controlling the production costs, and this can come by, again, renewable energies, renewable electricity at very low cost, leveraging the existing automotive ecosystem and infrastructure in place for quality integrated networks. We have strong thermal car industry. How can we leverage the ecosystem to go to the electric vehicle? Of course, you need also to work on the battery side. Battery for electric vehicles is 40% of total costs, so having a giga factory for batteries is gigabattery factory is something that the government is working on very hard, and hopefully it will happen. Of course, there is also all the investment on human capital, on R&D, and of course, it has to be through partnerships. And this is where, Anwar, the president, talked about partnerships. It's also, relevant in this, in this topic that I'm covering now. And finally, we need also to make sure that we can ensure a stable supply of strategic and critical minerals. Here we have again an advantage. Morocco has very rich mines of cobalt, and you know that cobalt can be used also in the vehicle batteries. And good news is we are making some inroads here. Future BMW and Renault electric car batteries will be powered by Moroccan cobalt. Finally, on the usage side, it is necessary also to underline the need to develop the green hydrogen sector at the national level. Green hydrogen is a clean fuel that can decarbonize multiple economic sectors. Morocco can become a key player in the development of the green hydrogen sector regionally. In fact, Morocco can produce 4% of the global demand for green molecules. In its Power to X roadmap, the World Energy Council has identified Morocco as one of the 6 countries in the world with a strong potential for the production and export of hydrogen and green derivatives. Can, of course, can H2, but you can ammoniac also can be exported by adding azote. Realizing the full potential of this opportunity and with the view to develop a competitive green hydrogen sector, Morocco has set out an ambitious green hydrogen roadmap. We have a number of green hydrogen pilot projects going on as we speak. There is a cluster that is called the Hydrogen Cluster, Green H2, which bring together partners from the public sector, but also from the private sector, including, for example, ENGIE from France, Siemens Energy from Germany, and many others. Achieving the goal or achieving this ambitious goal to become a key player in hydrogen requires one thing: making sure that the cost of the kilo of hydrogen goes as low as $2 per kilo. We are talking about $4 today. If you want to go to $2, it's a huge challenge. But again, we have a lot of wind, solar. If we seize the opportunity nicely, the cost of producing this kilowatt hour of electricity can go as low as 20 cents, 25 cents, of dirham. So that makes it, again, then feasible. I have some heads here that know these topics much better than I do. The shift in the use pattern also calls for decarbonization of national industry, both to meet the climate agenda and to comply with European Union regulations, which account for 65% of our exports, namely the tax on carbon. And they have announced that they will have a tax by 2023 up to 2025. They will deploy it. No economic sanctions at that time, just to test the system. They will focus on 4 sectors: cement and 4 others, steel and 2 others. And then they might generalize it by 2025, meaning what? Meaning that if we sell 65% of our exports to Europe, we better make sure that our exports are decarbonized, the products are decarbonized. And how do you do that? Well, again, Morocco, good news is Morocco government has some good strategies. We'll see how they are deployed on the field, but at least I know that the Minister of Industry is working on making sure that the companies in Morocco are really taking actions to make sure that they will decarbonize their products by 2023. So how do we do that? Well, of course, if you give renewable electricity to companies, then they are, by construction, decarbonizing their product. There is a good news. We have a law that allowed before only what we call the high tensions, which is, for example, the cement companies could buy from independent power producer electricity. Now that law is permitting going to the medium voltage, meaning that any industry operating can buy from these independent power producers. That, by the way, we are encouraging to come to Morocco. The thing is, the government, the state doesn't want to produce electricity. It should be produced by independent power producers. That's really the main strategy focus. The other thing is that we can supply green electricity to industrial zones. We can provide financial support for energy efficiency projects. Hopefully, we will see some huge advance there. We can also, there is also a product, in fact, it's a program that's called Tatweer Green Program for SMEs to support product development, decarbonized product development. And finally, we can have a certification program. We have a certification program, and green hydrogen can help also here. Ladies and gentlemen, that's my last topic. I'm coming back to the partnerships. This can be done only with partners. And of course, we are committed to play a key role in the field of renewable energy in the region, and by leveraging the strength and the comparative advantage as mentioned earlier, our country is likely to boost its export to Europe of green electricity or green hydrogen or a combination of both, molecules and electrons. I mean, just choose what percentage you want. And there is a huge project going on with the UK company. It's called X-Links. And basically, if it happens, and they are committed to make it happen, they're going to build these huge solar plants back in the south, export electricity. This time it's electricity. They are thinking also about hydrogen, but in the second phase, export electricity to UK, and it can cover 10% of the UK, consumption per year. Again, just that can change the whole geostrategic, powers or in this region, which is great. Furthermore, instead of just exporting this green energy, we think that we can be an attractive hub for European companies seeking to establish themselves here in Morocco to decarbonize their productions and then use this renewable potential here in Morocco. And basically, if you ask me my point of view, I'd say that's the best thing that can happen, but we can also be flexible and think about exports and investment here in Morocco. Last, thank you very much. The road, the potential is huge. The road ahead is bumpy. We still need to, there is competition out there. Changing in the world, some changes, so how it will affect. And we also have to do some institutional reforms to make all what I said happen quickly. But I'm confident we'll make it. Thank you very much.
قبل ما تخرجوا ما تنسوش تابوناو في العشان يوتيوب وبارطاجيو الفيديو وديروا جيم وتابعوا الدار على مواقع التواصل الاجتماعي.